You take the Tokaido Shinkansen from Tokyo to Nagoya today. 86 minutes. You read a book, you eat a bento, you arrive. This is already one of the fastest commercial railway systems on Earth, and it has not recorded a single fatal derailment in 60 years of continuous service. Japan is about to abandon it. The country is constructing a replacement that does not physically touch the ground. It levitates 10 centimeters above a concrete guideway, suspended there by superconducting electromagnets cooled to minus 269 degrees Celsius, colder than the surface of Pluto, colder than any naturally occurring environment anywhere in the solar system. It operates at 500 kilometers per hour in commercial service. In April 2015, an L0 series experimental vehicle reached 603 kilometers per hour on the Yamanashi test track. That is the absolute world record for a manned railway vehicle, and it has not been broken in more than a decade. But raw velocity is not the difficult part of this project. The difficult part is that 246 of the 286 kilometers between Tokyo's Shinagawa terminal and Nagoya station run underground. 86% of the entire Chuo Shinkansen route is tunnel, and one critical section of that tunnel passes 1,400 meters directly beneath the Southern Japanese Alps, through sedimentary rock formations 300 million years old, geology that wants every cubic meter of that tunnel back. Why would a nation with the best passenger railways on the planet spend 11 trillion yen, approximately 75 billion US dollars, to reduce a train journey from 86 minutes to 40? The answer is buried inside the mountain. We are going in after it. First, the strategic stakes. Because they are not about commuter convenience. Tokyo and Nagoya are not two independent cities. They are the two halves of the same economic organism. Roughly 40% of Japan's entire GDP physically moves along this corridor every single business day. And that corridor sits directly on top of the Nankai Trough subduction zone, one of the most seismically dangerous convergent plate boundaries anywhere on the planet. Japanese seismologists currently assign a 70 to 80% probability of a magnitude 8 to 9 megathrust earthquake occurring along this trough within the next 30 years. If the above-ground Tokaido Shinkansen, operational continuously since October 1964, is severed in that seismic event, the Japanese national economy stops breathing. The new Chuo Shinkansen Maglev is not a convenience upgrade. It is a redundant second heart, buried deep enough underground that the surface of Japan itself can collapse, and the economic blood supply between the two metropolitan regions keeps flowing. That is what 11 trillion yen is actually paying for. Now the historical context. Because this engineering program is older than almost every engineer currently working on it. Japanese National Railways began designing this magnetic levitation system in 1962, 2 years before the original Tokaido Shinkansen even opened for passenger service. The first superconducting levitation magnet prototype ran in 1972. The first manned levitating test vehicle ran in 1979. A dedicated 42-kilometer Maglev test track opened at Yamanashi Prefecture in 1997, and that track ran continuously for 17 years before anyone at JR Central was permitted to break ground on the actual commercial line. 17 years of experimental runs at full operational velocity. 17 years of disassembling the vehicle after every single component failure and rebuilding it from scratch. The Yamanashi facility was not a public demonstration project. It was a combat laboratory. Every component currently being installed into the Tokyo-Nagoya commercial line had to survive 15+ years of being broken and rebuilt before it was trusted underground. From the original engineering sketch to the first shovel of actual construction soil, 63 consecutive years. The technology was combat-ready by 2005. What was not ready was the mountain itself. The Southern Japanese Alps are young, geologically violent rock, metamorphic schist formations, sedimentary shale, active tectonic fault lines still physically moving under their own compressive weight, underground rivers flowing through subterranean cavities no surveyor has ever accurately mapped. At 1,400 meters of vertical overburden, The hydrostatic and lithostatic pressure against a tunnel wall is enough to crush a standard structural steel support beam within weeks if the tunnel geometry is incorrect by even a fraction. Nobody anywhere in civil engineering history had ever driven a tunnel of this length through this category of geology at this specific depth. There was no reference project. There was no manual. The JR Central engineers had to write the manual while simultaneously digging the tunnel. So they did something that sounds administratively simple and is not. They deployed 3 completely different tunneling methodologies inside one single continuous tunnel, and the underlying geology itself decided which methodology they were permitted to use at any given construction meter. Where the surrounding rock mass held firm, they deployed a tunnel boring machine, a TBM shield, 1,500 tons of rotating cutter head that chews through rock at the front, while simultaneously installing precast concrete lining segments at the rear in one continuous mechanical motion. A TBM is a self-contained underground factory, but a TBM is also a lethal trap the instant the surrounding rock turns fractured, waterlogged, and unstable. The shield can seize in seconds, permanently buried beyond any realistic recovery, and a permanently seized TBM at 1,400 meters of depth is not a machine that any human being ever recovers. So wherever the ground turned actively hostile, the construction crews immediately switched methodologies to NATM, the new Austrian tunneling method. They advance approximately 3 meters at a time, spraying quick-setting shotcrete onto the raw, exposed rock face within minutes of exposing it, mechanically locking the mountain into itself before it can physically collapse inward. And wherever even NATM was too slow, wherever the rock was simultaneously too hard to shotcrete and too unstable to leave exposed, drill and blast. Holes drilled manually, explosives packed manually, controlled detonation, excavate the debris, advance, drill again. 3 completely different methodologies. 1 continuous tunnel. The human engineers did not choose the methodology. The mountain itself chose. Then in 2020, the governor of Shizuoka Prefecture signed a single administrative document that halted the entire construction program. The reason was not financial. It was a river, the Oi River, whose upstream headwaters the Maglev tunnel would pass directly beneath. Shizuoka's industrial agriculture, its municipal drinking water, its centuries-old tea cultivation, all depend on consistent Oi River flow. The governor demanded a written contractual guarantee. Not 1 liter of water would be permanently lost from the Oi watershed. JR Central could not legally sign that guarantee because nobody on Earth could. When you drive a pressurized tunnel through a mountain, you physically break things you cannot see. You cut subterranean aquifers. Groundwater finds the tunnel, and the tunnel permanently drains it downhill. One signature: 4 full calendar years of complete construction paralysis on the Shizuoka section. The originally scheduled 2027 commercial opening became 2034, then 2035. The total project budget doubled from 5.5 trillion yen to 11 trillion yen. The governor was not wrong. He was protecting an irreplaceable watershed. The JR Central engineers were not wrong either. They were protecting 40% of a national economy. There was no villain anywhere in that conference room. That is precisely what made the impasse unsolvable. And then, while the lawyers fought over water rights, the mountain killed someone. October 27, 2021, Nakatsugawa Construction Zone, Gifu Prefecture. A tunneling crew is actively working inside a construction adit, an auxiliary access tunnel used to reach the primary Maglev bore. The surrounding rock mass above them suddenly gives way without any warning. Collapse. Immediate flooding. 1 construction worker dead. 1 critically injured. Active construction on that entire tunnel section immediately stops cold. Accident investigators enter the damaged adite. The underlying geology had been surveyed. The structural supports were installed precisely to engineering specification. The collapse still happened anyway. The mountain does not care about the specification sheet. 30,000 construction workers are currently distributed across 60 separate construction sites along the Chuo Shinkansen route. For a full week following the Nakatsugawa accident, every single one of those 30,000 people is thinking about exactly the same thing. If this can happen here, With the best available survey data in the country, it can physically happen anywhere. The accident investigators rewrite the structural support protocols, additional rock bolts, tighter mandatory inspection intervals, additional continuous monitoring sensors installed on every unstable rock face. Construction resumes. Construction always resumes, but the number that every engineer on the project now watches obsessively is not the scheduled opening date. It is the physical distance between the advancing cutter head and the next geological fracture that nobody detected. While the tunnel crews physically fight the mountain, another specialized team fights a completely different war, a war of millimeters. The Maglev vehicle does not roll on conventional rails. It levitates above a concrete guideway lined with precision copper induction coils. 580,000 individual coils installed across the full commercial route between Tokyo and Nagoya. Every single coil positioned by hand. Every single coil installed with an absolute positional tolerance of 1 millimeter over 50 meters of guideway length. That is the physical width of a credit card measured across the full length of an Olympic swimming pool. At 500 kilometers per hour, a positional error of just 3 millimeters in coil alignment creates a harmonic resonance vibration inside the levitating vehicle. That vibration feeds directly back into the magnetic levitation field. The levitation field destabilizes. The vehicle wobbles. At 500 kilometers per hour, a wobble is the physical beginning of a derailment inside a sealed tunnel, a full kilometer underneath a mountain range. The installation workers wear surgical gloves thin enough to physically feel individual grains of dust on the surface of the polished copper. They do this 580,000 consecutive times. Every single installation mistake remains completely invisible until the exact day the first commercial passenger train runs over it. Then there are the superconducting magnets themselves. The vehicle levitates because onboard superconducting electromagnets generate a magnetic field strong enough to repel the guideway wall coils with sufficient force to lift a 200-ton passenger train 10 centimeters off the ground. Superconductivity only physically occurs at cryogenic temperatures. These onboard magnets operate at minus 269 degrees Celsius, 4 degrees above absolute zero. The cryogenic cooling system runs on liquid helium, the rarest and most expensive industrial coolant on Earth. And Japan imports almost all of its liquid helium supply from a small handful of foreign suppliers. When the global helium commodity market seized up between 2019 and 2022, every single liquid helium consumer on the planet felt it. Hospitals, particle physics laboratories, semiconductor fabrication facilities. For the Chuo Shinkansen program specifically, a sustained helium supply disruption is not a logistical inconvenience. It is a direct threat to the operational readiness of the entire Maglev fleet. If liquid helium flow to a single onboard magnet fails for more than a few seconds during an active commercial run, that specific magnet quenches, the superconducting state catastrophically collapses, the magnetic field instantly dies, and that specific section of the vehicle immediately loses levitation lift. At 500 kilometers per hour, inside a pressurized tunnel, 1,400 meters beneath a mountain range, there is no operational margin. There is no second chance. The entire integrated system has to function every second of every commercial run for decades of continuous service. And this is the actual answer to the question we originally started with. Why would Japan spend 63 consecutive years of research and development, 11 trillion yen of public and private capital, 4 full calendar years of legal paralysis, 3 different tunneling methodologies inside one continuous tunnel, 1 construction worker's life at Nakatsugawa, 580,000 hand-placed induction coils, and a foreign-controlled cryogenic helium supply chain, all to reduce one specific train journey from 86 minutes down to 40 minutes. Because the existing 86-minute journey currently runs on a surface rail line that the next Nankai megathrust earthquake will almost certainly sever. Because Tokyo and Nagoya, the 2 economic halves of the Japanese national economy, cannot be permitted to become 2 separate isolated countries. Because the only place on the main Japanese island safe enough to operate the replacement line is deep inside the same geological rock mass that physically tried to stop them from constructing it. The mountain is not the enemy of the railway. The mountain is the railway's armor. Final integration is not complete. The Shizuoka section is still being negotiated river by river, aquifer well by aquifer well. The induction coils are still being installed, 1 millimeter at a time. The superconducting magnets are still being cooled. Every test run, every commercial validation cycle, the scheduled 2035 opening date is not guaranteed. Nothing about this specific project has ever been guaranteed at any point in its history. In 63 consecutive years of development, the only variable that has remained constant is the underlying strategic rationale for constructing it. A slow, patient, multi-generational national bet that the next catastrophic disaster is coming, and that a country prepares for disasters it cannot accurately predict by burying its economic future somewhere that disaster physically cannot reach it. Japan is not constructing a faster passenger train. It is constructing the first piece of national infrastructure specifically engineered to survive the death of a metropolitan region that has not died yet. When the Nankai megathrust earthquake eventually arrives, and the above-ground Tokaido Shinkansen finally goes silent, and the physical surface of Japan visibly changes shape, a 200-ton passenger train will lift exactly 10 centimeters off its concrete guideway, 1,400 meters inside a mountain range, and it will keep moving at 500 kilometers per hour, and an entire country will keep breathing. That is what 11 trillion yen actually buys. Not commuter speed, national continuity. If stories about the engineering nobody ever sees, the kind deliberately constructed for disasters that have not yet happened, are what originally brought you here, subscribe. The next story is already being dug somewhere underground right now.